Hey everybody, Coach here. Thanks for joining me this week. In some places, and for many folks, the sights and sounds of their home and their landscape generally surrounds busy streets, busy traffic noises, sirens, and urbania gone wild. And that's kind of sad, but there's many people that does not bother because that's their norm. But their backyards is what we're talking about today. Places that you can take and create your own sights and sounds to make quite a little Shangri-La back there. So join me today as we discuss the sights and sounds and the man-made DIY creations that you can bring to your landscape in order to create yourself a little societal escape once you hit your front door. This is all catering to the DIY in you, but if you need to hire a pro, hey, it's how I made a living for 20 years. So here we go, let's get started. I'm a very firm believer, and of the homes that I've owned in my adult life, I really believe that your home is your castle, and that castle should bring you all the joy and happiness that it could possibly muster, mainly because of the people in it. Otherwise, it's just dirt, grass, trees, buildings, sticks, and appliances. It's the people that make it. So that's what I'm talking to today. The people that want to create a little sense of sight and sound in their landscape to get that one more level of enjoyment out of their home when they're there. And this is despite all that the home asks of you. Most of you have mortgages and taxes and insurance. You have maintenance and upkeep and landscape maintenance. So the home really asks a lot of you to give back that happiness, don't you think? And sadly for some people, the home ownership ticket and landscape maintenance can become really, really overwhelming and sometimes demand so much of them from a financial, emotional, and skill level that they just kind of accept their yards and things as that's the way it's going to be. It also has a lot to do with how they were brought up, what the neighborhood is like, and what people consider the norm in that neighborhood. Well, step outside your box if that happens to be you, and let's talk about improving and creating an environment, especially in the backyard, but for some of you rural people, you can do it in the front yard as well, and create yourself a place where you can come home and just zen out and enjoy what you've created. Your landscape can literally be a temporary escape pod from all the stresses of the day, all the trials and tribulations that life throws at us in this busy, hectic, uncertain times. You get home from work, go through your little hi everybody routine, and maybe retire to the backyard for 30 minutes and just decompress with all the things that you have surrounded yourself with. It's a great way to become that better spouse, that better parent, that better friend and neighbor, just by giving yourself a few extra minutes in the right surroundings. But you know something? First, let's establish one fact right out of the gate. That fact is this: you are worth it. You're worth it to have these kinds of things, and don't think that you're not. You guys are out there pumping 40 hours a week minimum. You're huckly buck maybe with kids and pets and family needs and parents and who knows what else. You do have a right to have that type of an escape pod, and I strongly suggest you look into it. Just by taking those few minutes and enjoying the surroundings that you created, you become such a better person, at least temporarily until life tends to creep its tentacles back in. But enjoying some of those sights and sounds are very, very important, especially in this day and age. I hear many times on many social media platforms that people can't wait for their summer vacation, or they can't wait for their spring break or fall break or whatever it might be. And that's good, because if you do have the resources to go take a vacation for a week or two, bueno. But some of us don't have that luxury. Sometimes we have to create an environment where a staycation makes a lot more sense. Many of us want to escape to the mountains and enjoy all what the mountains give you. You know, the beautiful conifer trees, the high peaks, lakes, rivers, streams, maybe wildlife, all that kind of stuff. Others love the beaches. They love the sound of the crashing waves. People spend thousands of dollars to jump on a plane and fly thousands of miles to go sit on a remote beach somewhere. And if that's what gets you there, okay. And yet still others like to flee to the desert during the cooler parts of the year and enjoy the solitude and absolute quiet that some parts of the desert still offer. Those are really great expectations. But take it from someone, take it from both of us, that travel extensively. And we know now, after being out here for 2 to 3, almost 3 years now, that all those places, those mountain escapes, those desert quiet oases, and those beaches, they're not vacated any longer. The same type of escapes everybody else wants as well. And you will find those places, maybe that you visited 20 years ago, are no longer your little family secret. Now they're impacted. And now you kind of have to look at it and balance the cost of getting theirs and trying to enjoy versus what you have and where you could put resources right within the property lines of your own home. So with that being said, your own backyard, and in some cases front yard, is the greatest place to start and to be able to achieve that sense of zen and peace and tranquility and being home and being happy about it. Right there in your own backyard and in your own front yard. It's kind of easy to do. It just takes a little what? What do I always say? A little planning, a little budgeting, a little scheduling. It can all come about. And you don't always have to do it at the price of a pro, like me. You can do it with your own 2 hands or 4 hands or however many hands you can garner to get the project done. Of all the landscapes that I installed for my clients over the years, the ones that I always garnered the most praise from my clients were the ones that I was able to give them a retreat that had various elements in it that brought them the peace and quiet and serenity that they want, no matter where they were at. For me, sights and sounds generally boil down to obviously things that you can hear and things that you can see. And most of the time, top 3 every single time, and for me, the top 1, and that is the sound of running water in one form or another. That sight and that sound is the golden ticket to being able to retreat to your own little nirvana back there and allowing yourself a little bit of peace and tranquility. Those sights and sounds can be achieved at the budget level, all the way up to thousands of dollars, depending on how big and how massive you want to make it. You can go to a box store or a hardware store in some cases and get yourself a little trickle fountain right in a box and put it together in an hour. And if you have a small landscape area, that little trickle fountain is going to work. It may not be the most fanciest thing, but you can decorate it up with container gardens and color and other stuff and kind of immerse it into a little project over one weekend. You can step up. You can step up to things like statuary type of fountains. The old Italian Gothic cascading 2 and 3 tier type of fountains. They're kind of heavy, so you may need some help getting them in place. And you got to be careful with gumming up some of the holes where wires and other things go up. But they're pretty easy to put together, and they last for a long, long time. Then, as far as I'm concerned, my own personal opinion, then you step up to things like the Pondless waterfalls and the ponds that I used to put in many years ago. These, I think, are kind of the gold standard when it comes to not only cost, but naturalized look. You know, putting something that literally in your backyard that can really help drown out the traffic out front, I think that, you know, it's worth the cost. And many times I did them in various sizes and obvious various costs. The cheapest ones I would say were probably around $2,500 for me to put in, and I was generally able to do it in a day. And then you step up, at least from a professional standpoint, you kind of step up to a 3 and 4 day project. Here at a professional level, now you're talking over $5,000. And you have to do a little bit of due diligence, a little planning, a little research, so it comes out looking neat. You don't end up with some kind of a waterfall volcano in the backyard. It looks natural, and the fall is maybe 12 inches over the course of, 8 feet stream, whatever it might be. But those are the gold standard. The bonus is the wildlife that you can bring into your little backyard or your front yard. Man, I'll tell you what, songbirds, butterflies, hummingbirds, even small critters, desirable critters that is, are really attracted to water. And especially during certain times of the year, maybe when there's not a natural water source, guarantee your water feature back there will be an attractor. And let's face it, who doesn't like having songbirds coming down and taking baths in the stream or in the statuary pond or whatever you've created? You and the kids, it's kind of a special moment, especially if you built it yourself. So attracting in wildlife. At Weed Patch Ranch, Maestro and I had a pretty good size pondless waterfall in the backyard. And then we had a stacked slate urn and basin out in the front yard next to the sunset deck. And both of them would just attract birds, hummingbirds, butterflies, everything. And if you pay attention to how birds and butterflies actually get their water, the wet areas around the water feature is where the butterflies are going to go, and a shallow ledging type of situation where the birds can land, do their bathing, and then get out and shake off. You don't want deep water. They don't want that at all. So think about that. Now, another way to multiply it even further is to landscape in and around, whether it be in containers or in the ground, landscape around it with attractors, various plant materials that'll bring in hummingbirds, bring in butterflies, bring in pollinator insects and stuff. This is where you have completed that enjoyment loop, if you would, and you really made a nice environment for yourself, for the wildlife around you. Now, as far as sites go, sites are kind of a personal preference. Now, I've seen lots of various, things at stores, but a lot of times people love to see movement in the garden. So some of the copper spinners, maybe flags, maybe just plant material that move, grasses and ferns and other things like that tend to move in the breeze. Along with the water, along with the wildlife, you can see how we're really kind of multiplying this enjoyment level quite a bit. Now, back to Weed Patch Ranch a second. Once we were kind of in a dry area in the summer. We didn't get rain. Everything turned Serengeti tan except for what you put water on. And our water features, both front and back, became quite attractors to mammals as well. Yeah, we had the occasional ground squirrel, but not too much. But we did have possums, foxes, raccoons. Yeah, I think there was a skunk or two out there once in a while, but not too much. And then the highlight was one morning when I came outside to start my chores, man, there were 2 coyotes curled up on the green grass lawn right next to the stacked slate urn water feature. And of course, once they saw me, they took off like a bat out of hell. But still, it was kind of neat to see, and you know darn well that they were getting their drink right there. Now, what I've talked about so far is your enjoyment back there during the daylight hours. But once that sun goes down, you can take it up one more notch. So you can go out and enjoy it in the evening. And maybe your little water feature, maybe the stream bed you've created, you can light up with tasteful low voltage lighting. So you can enjoy it, and it's just not a dark stream over in the corner of the yard, but you actually have quite an evening focal point. Pretty easy to do with LED lighting. And with some of the water lighting that's out there now, they're little disc lights about that big that have a wire that goes off to a main cable that you can plug in, and you can probably light it up for probably less than $100. So it's a nice, neat evening ambiance type of thing. Now, I've heard some comments lately on the channel about lighting. Tasteful lighting, low wattage lighting is the ambiance that you're looking for. You're not trying to make it look like Runway 29er, and certainly not the Vegas Strip. So damp it down. Keep it on a timer and make sure that it goes off sometime during the night. I've heard talk about how it damages insects and wildlife and stuff. Yeah, I'm not in total agreement with you there, but if you brighten it up so it looks like, a shopping mall, yeah, I could understand that a little bit. To wrap this up, Many people jump in the car on a Saturday morning or even a Friday night, and they drive 50, 100, 200, 300 miles to find their spot. But not all of us can or have the time to be able to do that. You know, with the price of fuel and the busy times that we have right now, every weekend can't be done all the time. So, when you have that relaxing environment that you've created by using sights and sounds like water, and sounds that come from the water, the breezes, the plants, and if you don't want to go down the water route, you can go down the landscape sound system route, where you can Bluetooth to a central hub and have 3 or 4 landscape boulder speakers or submersible speakers right in the ground, and then you can Bluetooth whatever sounds you want out there, provided that you do it politely and you don't disturb the neighbors. But you could have the sounds of the crashing waves. You could have the sounds of a running stream or river. You could have songbirds and everything else if you want. And you can do it through landscape acoustics, which are pretty easy to research. There's all kinds on YouTube, and you can buy them through Amazon or your own favorite landscape supply store. Anyway, sights and sounds. Create that environment. You're worth it. Don't forget that. You are worth it, so spend a little time. You're also throwing a lot of value into your home. You know, those kinds of environments are very, very attractive to buyers that might be coming by someday. Hey, my name's Matt. You can call me Coach. I hope you got a little something out of this. If you stuck with me this long, which I hope you have, consider hitting the subscribe button. And I see you every Friday. Plus, Plan of the Week is always accompanying us with this educational video. If you're on the go, you can always listen to me on podcast carriers. I'm out there in most places. Thanks for taking the time. As always, to your landscape success, if you look forward to supporting me and the education that I provide, maybe check out our website, youryardcoach.com. I got a great ebook there and a digital course. I'll see you guys next Friday. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.